The newest emblem is here, and Emblem Lyn may be the most insane unit that's ever been added to the game, or at least added the most insane effect to Fire Emblem Heroes we've ever seen. Let's start off with the preference weapon, Lady Bow. Okay, so this weapon has Slaying as effective against flying, and then at start of turn, Lyn will give out attacks and speed +6 as a visible bonus, Desperation, and Preempt Pulse, a new visible bonus, to herself and allies within 2 spaces. Preempt Pulse is essentially just a special jump that we've seen before. It is offensive special jump, so it is before your first attack. So pretty nice support there. We then have, if unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, you're going to get attack and speed +6, and then also 20% of your speed at start of combat, uncapped. Lyn also gets +7 true damage per attack, excluding AoE specials. She gets 50% damage reduction piercing, and then also, if she can meet a speed check of 25, she'll get a potent follow-up attack, where the potent follow attack will equal 80% if she can't double or 40% otherwise, though with the preference special, that will be a bit cheated. We then go to her preference special, Astro Storm. This boosts damage by 40% of her speed when the special triggers, and then also when her special is ready or has already been triggered and an opponent follow-up attack hasn't done 100% damage, it will now do 100% damage. So essentially what you can think of is this is like Emblem Marth, where whenever you do a potent follow-up attack, it's going to be 100% damage. So essentially she'll get 3 attacks at 100% damage, which is very solid. We then have a new tier 4 B skill in Speed Taker 4. What this essentially does is at start of turn, you're going to get Great Speed Talent, which is essentially the same thing that Alphonse gave out, but instead of giving out attack, res, and defense, you're going to get speed, and you're going to get 1 per turn. And then you'll also get another 4 after combat if you attack. So up to like 5 per turn essentially. You can get dance, I guess, and get a bit more, but overall it's still going to be like Alphonse, where it is pretty slow. It's also going to inflict speed and defense -4 on the foe. You're going to get true damage equal to 20% of your speed during combat, once again not with AoEs, and you're going to neutralize your own penalties to speed, and lastly you'll get anti-guard as well, which is very solid. Overall, I'm not very high on this B skill compared to the other Emblem B skills we've gotten. I think it's about on the same tier as like Mars Potent Follow-Up, not on the same tier as something like Legoose Friend 4 for sure, or even Resonance, or even Momentum. It overall is a good skill, but really Lyn is going to be one of the best users of it. Now, if that was all Lyn really did, I honestly wouldn't be very impressed, but of course, Lyn is going to introduce a completely new mechanic called Style. Style is essentially a button you can press to activate. It's only in player phase, and it will give additional effects. It's kind of like a duo skill, but not quite, and also duo and harmonic units cannot use it alongside their duo or harmonic skill as well, which is pretty notable. Now, so for Lyn, she's going to have her own unique style called Astro Storm Style, and what this essentially does is allows her to attack foes within 6 spaces of herself, as long as they're within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on herself, which is absolutely, completely and utterly broken. We essentially have a ballista in the game, and this effect is ridiculous. We've gone from being able to attack within 2 spaces to 6. We literally tripled the range. It's just completely insane. Not only that, she'll only suffer a counterattack if the foe has distant counter, is a ranged armor, or if she's within 2 spaces. So essentially they have the same attacking range. And so in effect, this kind of also gives you a sweep effect in some sense, which is really powerful as well. Now, there are some restrictions on this style. First of all, she cannot move when the style is active, so it completely stops her movement completely. Also, she cannot attack structures, which is really important. She does not get Canto, so like any after movement effects she would get, such as Canto or like maybe like a Shadow Shift skill or something like that, will not activate at all. And also, these attacks still are considered range 2 attacks, so stuff like Aegis or like, you know, specials like that will still activate normally. This style has no cooldown, which is really strong, as well as you'll see the Emblem Ring does have a cooldown attached to it. Once again, like I said, it's only in player phase. It disables duo or harmonized skills, and you can only have 1 style. And so what this kind of alludes to that there will be more styles, and that it's possible that skills will give styles as well. So this is essentially an entirely new mechanic being added to the game, which adds a whole new level of complexity and power, which we'll get more into that a little bit later. So with all that said, what are Lyn's roles and what game modes is she going to be good in? So obviously Lyn's main role is a nuke. She does offer some really powerful support with Desperation, the special jump, and some stats, but her main role is nuking. She's essentially going to be your sniper on the team, just destroying things from a range, which is just absurdly insane. And when it comes to game modes, she's going to be good in every game mode. And the reason for that is simple, is 6 range is really powerful. Even when you're fighting against saves, it's just ridiculously good. Essentially, in Ether 8's offense, you could bring in Lyn, and because of safety fence 2, you could go in with Lyn and like, let's say, Bridal Embla, and then you can just snipe 3 units before the foe even gets a chance to do anything at all, which is just completely and utterly crazy, and in my opinion, completely breaks Ether 8's offense, making so that defense just doesn't really have a good way to counteract that. Obviously, there's other combinations as well we'll have to talk about, such as Lyn with triangle attack. Because she doesn't have to move, it's very easy to have triangle attack. You just have to have 2 units within range. Same with dual strike on Winter Cordelia, and even true with Nurgle and Essence Drain. You can essentially snipe opponent across the map, steal all their bonuses for your team, and never have to take a single step or be in any type of danger. It's just ridiculously utterly broken, and I think there's going to be some big meta game changes and just complete game changes in my opinion. I don't know if Fire Emblem Heroes will literally ever be the same after this hero's introduction. So with that said, I do think this unit is just completely broken. As you can see, I gave her a 12 out of 10 when it comes to power rating. When it comes to her actual nuking, she is not like crazy strong when it comes to nuking. She does have Potent, which is really good against Shield Fighter, but she doesn't have like the insane nuking power of someone like, let's say, Duo Lucina or Brave Bernie. But when you combine that with insane range, it gives you the ability to use a ton of different supports, like I was mentioning earlier, and that's something I'll be going into more when we get to the Emblem Ring implications. With that said, that's not it. You also get the Emblem Ring itself, which is a giant boost to your entire account, so let's jump into that. Okay, so this ring effect is so big I had to split it up into 2 parts, which is also nuts. Let's start off with the base effect of the Emblem Ring. Essentially what this does is it boosts your special damage by your special cooldown count value times 4. So having bigger special cooldowns will essentially give you more damage. If you have like a 5 cooldown special with no slaying, you'll get 20, and then you can kind of go down from there. Low is at like 4, right? Which is not all that great. So the actual special boosting damage isn't like crazy good if you're not using big specials, but that's not really the reason why you're here, right? Obviously, you are here for this secondary effect. So we have the secondary effect. Essentially what this does is allows you to attack foes within 5 spaces if they're within 3 rows and 3 ranges. This is essentially the same as Emblem Lyn, just a little bit nerfed by 1 space. But what this essentially does is allows one of your units to become a ballista as well. It's not going to have the same weaknesses that the Emblem Lyn herself has, where she can still be counterattacked by opponents with distant counter or ranged armors or units who are within the same distance, right? But it's also going to have some other restraints as well to make it a little bit more balanced, though I really don't think balance is really anywhere in this discussion. So first of all, you cannot move still, you still can't attack structures. After combat movement effects still will not active, so like Canto or like Shadow Step or things like that. You also can't use an area of effect special, which Lyn can, so that's also another big boost for her. That's kind of crazy, though Astral Storm is a big part of her damage. Either way, also once again your Canto gets put down to 0, your skill effect range is still equal to 2, so things like Aegis and Paths will still activate. But the big downside here compared to Lyn, of course, is that this does have a cooldown. You won't be able to actually use this on the first turn, but on the second turn you can use it, and then after 2 more turns of cooldown, you can use it again. And the last big restriction, of course, is that it can only be equipped by ranged units. So this can't be used by melee units, which makes complete sense, right? If all of a sudden you see Hector throwing his axe literally across the map, that'd be kind of funny, but not quite how that works. And so when it comes to this ring, it is just absurdly powerful. It allows you to essentially create a ballista on your team, and once again, this does synergize with a lot of the same effects I was talking about earlier. So let's talk about some of the implications of this ring. First of all, units can safely snipe foes from a big distance, which is a massive thing. This increases the value of far saves like insanely because you really don't want your unit to get killed with no counterplay at all. So having a far save will be a very big deal. This also increases the value of anti-save skills like Embla, Lathreder, and Layla, as they can turn off those saves, meaning that once again Lyn can just go on a free shooting range and destroying everything on the enemy team. The value of triangle attack, dual strike, drive supports, right? Just having a whole bunch of units around you who give you plus attack or plus speed can be really big. And of course the Essence Drain as well, all go up massively as she can take advantage of these effects very easily because she does not have to move. One of the big things I really want to talk about is the difference between players with the Emblem Lyn ring and the players who do not have this ring. This ring is just a game changer, and so if you don't have this ring, you're at a massive disadvantage against your foes, especially in game modes like, let's say, Summoner Duels or Summoner Duels S. Summoner Duels S, you'll obviously have to run into this. It can only be on 1 unit, so there's a chance maybe you ban that or you just don't run into that team. But if you are against that team and you don't have your own Emblem Lyn ring, you're going to be at a big, big disadvantage. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Aetherraid's defense is essentially dead. A smart player can easily take advantage of this ring or Lyn to kind of just destroy a lot of the foe's defense with the safe defense too, right? Essentially makes hit and run in quotes really, really powerful and completely broken. So there's that as well. Now, when it comes to some other implications, like including Lyn, Hardy bearing on saves will be extremely meta because of Emblem Lyn herself, because she has that desperation. So if you can essentially make sure you counterattack, you survive 2 hits, and then counterattack and kill Lyn, it shouldn't be too difficult because she doesn't have a lot of defensive effects in her weapons. And this could be somewhat true with the Ring user as well. So that will definitely be interesting to see how saves adapt so they can actually do their job correctly. But either way, I think this ring is just completely nuts. It's essentially Celica ring on crack in my opinion, which is a very scary thing to think about because in my opinion, Emblem Celica's ring is probably one of, if not the most meta impactful thing of this year. Okay, with that said, let's move on to the Emblem Ring tier list and the Emblem Hero tier list. I'm going to have a bit more of my own opinion at the end of the video, so if you want to hear my personal opinion on Emblem Lyn and this ring, jump down to that, it will be marked. Okay, so when it comes to the Emblem Ring tier list, I'm going to have Emblem Lyn in the top at S+, with Celica right below her and Marth after that. I'm going to move Sigurd down. I think Sigurd ring is extremely good, especially on specific units like Ike there, but overall I do not think it's on the same power level as the top 3, and the same can be said with Ike as well. Now, I will say the reason why I kept Marth in the top tier and Ike in the second tier is that the value of saves is so important now that these 2 rings are really good because they are the biggest contributors to those saves, right? Something like Duo Fjorm can use the Ike ring extremely well, making her much more tanky, and so something like that will be very vital. And then, of course, with the Marth ring, enabling Shield Fighter so that you can have Shield Fighter up for all the attacks, which is a very big deal as well. So I'm going to keep it like this. Overall, I do think the Emblem Lyn ring is the most powerful, even with its cooldowns and its restrictions. Okay, let's move on to the Emblem Hero tier list. I'm going to have Lyn in S+ by herself. I literally demoted every other unit just to put Lyn in her own tier. I think that Sigurd and Ike are still extremely powerful. Sigurd is just a complete AoE menace and just destroys everything in a lot of different game modes, though he does have some weaknesses. And I do think Ike is one of the best Omni tanks, if not the best Omni tank in the game still, though he has been showing a little bit of his age, and it does require a bit more of a touch. You really have to know how to support him correctly now, instead of just throwing him out there. Either way, I think these units are exceptional. In A tier, I'm going to have Celica. Celica is still really powerful on defense. Just the ability to pass and be able to snipe the back line is really good, especially in Anima season with like Lathreder and his assigned decoys. And then down in B tier, I'm going to have Marth, where he just really hasn't proven himself to be that great of a melee nuke, even with the Celica ring. But like I was saying, I think Lyn in S+ tier by herself is just completely suitable. I think this unit is completely and utterly broken. The fact that she can snipe every single turn, and the fact that she can take advantage of so many powerful supports, and while doing it from the safety of like her own save or just really far back, makes her insanely powerful in my opinion. Okay, with that said, let's move on to the rest of the banner. Okay, in first place, I'm going to have green. Obviously, green is the most powerful color on this banner, and that's mostly due to Emblem Lyn, I will say. Not only are you getting a new meta-defining, meta-warping unit, you're also getting a meta-defining, meta-warping ring as well that just gives you absolute crazy value for your account. But then you also have Hathrin, one of the best units in the entire game. She's extremely meta in every game mode. She offers insane support. She's used essentially everywhere. The only downside I will say is that you really don't need merges on Hathrin very much. +1 is really like a great stopping point in my opinion. After that, like you're not gaining all that much value. And her fodder is decent, but not anywhere like insane. So I will say that's a bit of a downside. And then we also have Brave Alphonse. Brave Alphonse is a really highly mobile melee tank nuke. He does offer some unique support as well with like the great talent, and he has some pretty solid fodder, but I definitely don't think he's like a top tier meta breaking unit by any means. And so unless you're like a big Alphonse fan, you really don't need like a lot of merges on him, though his fodder is pretty good. In second place, I'm going to have Blue. Blue is just an absolutely insane share. I was kind of hoping that the Emblem Ring would be here because, first of all, you have Emblem Sigurd, one of the best melee nukes in the entire game, extreme mobility, has the Emblem Ring as well, so you're just getting crazy good value off of Sigurd himself, and that's not even talking about the value of momentum fodder as well. But then you have Brave Bernadetta, who's easily one of the top 3 range nukes in the game. She's kind of like in a quad area where it's one quad of each color. We have like blue with Bernie, colorless with Duolicina, red with Ninja Tharja, and then now green with Christmas Shez. And so I think she's just absolutely amazing. She has really unique support, and she has really solid fodder as well. So you really can't lose getting Brave Bernadetta. And then lastly, we do have Ada Regan. Ada Regan is a pretty solid melee nuke. She has some really nice mobility, but most of all, she has Shadow Shift fodder, and Shadow Shift is extremely good. So even if you do end up getting Regan, it's not a complete loss. In third place, I'm going to have Red. Honestly, Red's also a really cracked share in my opinion. You have Emblem Ike, one of the best Omni tanks in the entire game. He's meta in every game mode. He's absolutely insane. He has Legru's Friend 4 fodder, so even if you don't really need the unit, you get that. He comes with an Emblem Ring, which is a must-have in my opinion as well. So like you just really don't lose by getting Emblem Ike by any means. Then you have Brave Felix, easily top 3 units in the game. pretty much broke every game mode, is meta in every game mode, insanely flexible in every game mode. What do I have to say, right? It's Brave Felix. He also has insane fodder as well. So, like, just complete win there as well. And lastly, you have Veronica. And Veronica is definitely the weakest unit in this banner. She's really not the best nuke anymore. She's decent. But she does boost your arena score. And she does perform pretty well in arena itself. So, not the worst pickup by any means. And it is Veronica. And she does look really cute. So, not the big loss. And then in last place, I'm going to have Carlos. Carlos also is a really good share, in my opinion. You have Eichthyr, who's an amazing melee nuke, offers extremely powerful support, increases your scoring and ether rates, and is a great in summer duels as well. He's one of the best users of the Sigurd Ring, and he can use Barricade extremely well, so just a big win there. You have the new ether rates, Mythic and Rune. Personally, I'm not like the biggest fan of Rune, but he is a good unit. He is overall pretty strong, offers some pretty powerful support. Most importantly, he enables the reinforcement effect in Ether Raid's offense, and he's currently the only unit that will do that, and he's probably going to be the only light mythic who will do that for quite a while, so picking up a couple of copies of him isn't bad, though we do have the free-to-play copy that everyone is guaranteed to get with Book 9. And then lastly, we have Brave Robin, who is also a fantastic unit. Her ice terrain is extremely meta in Ether Raid's defense. It's very good in summoner duels. She offers some great support, and she can be a decent nuke, and she has some decent fodder as well. So overall, Colors is really stacked as well. Overall, this banner is extremely good, and you really can't lose too hard other than maybe Veronica and Regan. With that said, let's move on to should you pull. So when it comes to the pros, you have a 6-range nuke. I mean, do I really need to say much more? Other than that, you also have a must-have Emblem Ring in the form of Lyn, who's just absolutely insane. You have 2 other Emblem Rings on Ike and Sigurd as well. You also have amazing red shares, blue shares, green shares, and even colorless share as well. So, like, amazing shares all down the line. When it comes to cons, you do have the Attuned Hector banner up right now, which is an extremely good banner as well. Hector's proven to be really strong, and he has some great skill duplication. You have a 4-time Sparkable Christmas banner right now, which has Shield Fighter, most notably. Shield Fighter is going to be very, very important in the meta in the upcoming months, so being able to get a copy of that is really good. And of course, Femortis himself is a fantastic unit, so even if you don't want to fodder, you can just have a great save in Femortis. We also have New Year's coming up within about a week, a little bit more than a week, which could also be a crazy banner. So there's something there. And then, of course, we have the anniversary coming up in 1 month as well. Overall, if you have my opinion, should you pull on this banner? The answer is undoubtedly, absolutely yes. This banner is a must pull in my opinion. If you do not have Emblem Lyn, you're going to be a major like detriment against everyone in every competitive game mode, especially summoner duels. I think Emblem Lyn is a must pull. She's like literally the definition of a must pull. I think if you don't pull Emblem Lyn, you're going to feel really, really bad. And I think Intelligent Systems did that on purpose to try to make you buy a Fay Pass. So overall, not too happy about that, but it is what it is. And I do think she is a must pull. Now let's move on to the final part of the video, my opinion on this banner and Emblem Lyn. Okay, with all that said, my opinion on Emblem Lyn is extremely negative. I think this unit is completely and utterly broken. I think the Emblem Ring is completely broken, and it really leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. I essentially feel like Emblem Lyn is a Gen 2 version of an Emblem unit because she introduced this new style effect. Now, there is no guarantee that every emblem will have a style effect after this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And I really don't like that they didn't introduce this mechanic originally with Emblem Heroes and to have them all have their own styles, and that would have been a cool, unique thing they could have done. I really hate that it's being introduced this late into the game. I really hate the fact that we have a 6-range nuke in the game. Even having 3-range nuke would have been really, really broken, but 6 is just completely over the top ridiculous in my opinion. The fact that our Emblem Ring turns another unit into a 5-range nuke is just also stupid. I just think it's really unhealthy for the game. The maps are just way too small on the competitive game modes like SD or Ether Raids. If they were planning to do something like this, they should have made a game mode that was on a conquest-sized map, so this would be a little bit more balanced. I just think it's a really terrible idea, and one of the big reasons why is because the difference between, let's say, a free-to-play player who didn't get Lyn and a player who did get Lyn, maybe through Fay Pass, is going to be massive. It's just going to be a really unfair level of power between possibly a paying player and a non-paying player. Now, obviously, a free-to-play player can get lucky and get Lyn, or can just spend a lot of orbs and get Lyn, but either way, it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. I really don't like this level of power creep, and I think it's a really toxic direction for the game. And it's really, maybe I'm overreacting. There's definitely a possibility that I'm overreacting, and Lyn just isn't that crazy broken. And I really hope that is the case, but at the moment, I'm really negative on this unit and this change for the game, and it's really making me consider not spending any more money on this game. So sorry for being a doomer and possibly ruining the hype for Emblem Lyn, but I really just think this is a giant negative turn for the game, and I think it would be just honest of me to say anything different. So I just want to make sure that everyone knew how I felt and that I was frank with my opinion. Okay, with that said, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of Emblem Lyn? What do you think of this is going to be the impact on the game? Do you think this is a good change, a bad change? What do you think of styles? I want to hear all about it. We really need to start a conversation so we can really get down to the bottom of this. And I would just love to hear about it. So make sure to drop a comment down below. And as always, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. Without you, I really couldn't make these videos, so thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. And as always, this is Oblivion. I'll catch you more Fire Emblem Heroes. I'll be streaming my pools tomorrow night at Reset.